Great. Can you see it?
Looks great.
Okay, so now that Justin's got you all excited about the data and different things you can do, you know, you're thinking, okay, I want to get started, and maybe you want to build something, or maybe you want to pull down the data to start analyzing it. And the GUI is great, but sometimes you just want the data. And so what we have built is an API so that you can programmatically connect. And so maybe you want to pull down some rasters to put in your website. Maybe you want to pull down the time series and build a chart in your website, or maybe just to pull that data down and kind of put it in a CSV file and start analyzing it. So we have built this API, and I'm just going to show this chart really quick because it is a really good reminder of what an API is and, you know, what it does. And so you are using your computer, you're making an API call to our API, which is an interface, and it's going to hide, it's going to abstract everything that you want to do with Earth Engine, and it's going to make it so that you can do these queries with, you know, maybe 5 lines of code. So it's going to query Earth Engine, and this is for simplicity's sake. Sometimes there's a lot more going on than just that. Earth Engine is going to return the data. We may manipulate the data, and then we're going to return your call with data. And that's normally in JSON, or if it's a raster, it could be sent to a storage area on the cloud. It could be a map ID, which will create a map layer that you can use in a browser. Or it could just be a CSV that you could download. And so here's the components of an endpoint. And so the API, it's just a URL. So the root is going to be geodata.dri.edu. You'll have a resource path. So that's going to define what you want. In this example, you're pulling down time series, and you just want the raw data for points. And then you need to provide us different parameters. And this is shortened, so it fits on the screen, but it's going to be your data set, the variable you'd like to query, and maybe kind of the statistics you want to run on it, start date, end date. And so our API has several categories. We have the rasters, and so that's exporting it to a bucket. We also have the map ID, which is something you can use for a mapping layer and leaflet. We have time series, it's raw, yearly seasonal values, regression, the zonal statistics that Justin was showing, the pixel counts of drought, other things, and then probabilities. And so this kind of gives you an idea of the type of data that you're going to get back from us. So how do you interact with the API? We have a Swagger UI, and so it's called interactive documentation. And so it is going to, it's set up so that you can start making these calls, and it's going to have some examples, and you can just try it out, and right off the bat, it'll do some calls for you. You can do it programmatically, which maybe once you get more comfortable, then you can start, you know, pulling data every night like NOAA, or you can do a curl command. And so I will be going over the Swagger UI as kind of a place to get started. And then Kristen is going to kind of go through these collab notebooks and kind of show you how to get started with doing it, with programming it. So there are 2 kind of main pieces kind of to get started with it. And one is going to be the documentation. So it is an API, and so it's essentially a set of definitions on how to interact with the API. And so we need to know what those definitions are. We need to know that resource path. We need to know what parameters. And so that is going to show you all those, the parameters, the data sets, and the variables that are available. And in addition, we have getting started and tutorials. And after this, we will upload Kristen's collab notebook to that tutorial section. And then we have this Swagger UI, and that is also at geodata.dri.edu/docs. So let me go escape out of here so we can get to those pages. So here we have the documentation, and Then here is the Swagger page. So we're just going to take a look at this documentation. So we have here under REST API, we have those different categories of endpoints. We have the rasters or maps, time series, zonal statistics, probabilities. So let's just go ahead and take a look at one of those. And we can see there's all different sorts of resource paths. And we'll just look at this time series native points. Click on that. So this is going to return the raw data for the points. So each one should have a description of what it does, and then it's going to define all these parameters, and it's going to tell you, are they required or are they not? And then it should have some examples. And so to make a basic time series call, you need to know the data set, the variable, start date, end date, and the area reducer. And then down here, we have lots of different data sets. And this is going to provide that parameter name for all the different data sets. And then each data set also has a lot of different variables. So we'll just take a look at, we'll try Landsat. So this is the different variables under each data set. And this is what you would need to copy to put in as the data variable parameter. And then down here is our tutorials that are available. So there's a lot of information in here. So we have, like I said, a good place to start is the Swagger documentation. And to get started on that, because there is some costs associated with running Climate Engine, we don't want just anybody using it. So there, you do have to authorize using a JWT token, so an API key. And so you would need to hit this button. I've already entered in the key, and then you just hit the button there to verify. And then that's going to authorize you to use the Swagger page. And right now we have one for everyone to play around with. Eventually you would need to email us directly if you wanted to get one that was longer term. So once you have authorized onto the Swagger page, you can now access all the different endpoints. And as you can see, there's a lot of them. They're also segregated into different categories, the categories of raster, time series. But kind of a good place to get started is here under Home. So maybe the first thing you want to do is say, does my token even work? So you can go over there, there's execute, and it's just going to return this JSON result. And it's going to say your key works. And so this is a good time to kind of orientate you with Swagger and show you what it's going to, what types of things it's going to send back to you. So here is the curl command. I said you could put the curl command directly in your terminal to get results back. So it's going to build that for you. So you could copy and paste that and put it into your terminal. It's going to show you the request URL that you could put into your Python script. And then here's what it's returning. You can download it off of this page if you would like. And then here's the status code showing you whether it was successful or not. So now we know we have a token that works. We can try it out again, see when it's expiring. This one's just a short one that's going to last for a month. So now we know we have a key that works and it's going to be good for a month. So now we can go down to these different categories, and I'm just going to go to the time series native points as an example. And down here, we have all those parameters, and we have pre-filled out all the ones that are required. So this is just a simple Landsat NDVI example for a short period of time. And then here is our points. So you can actually add you can add multiple points. For simplicity's sake, it's just 1 point. So I'm going to hit execute. It's built that curl command. It's built the request URL. And then down here, I can see that it's giving me a time series for that point for NDVI. So this is the Swagger page, like I said, it's a good place to get started to kind of get an idea of maybe your first step in interacting with the API. However, you will probably want to, many of you will want to start building something, and that would be, Kristen's next section should be kind of a good way to get started with some of the Python scripts. So I am going to go ahead and hand it over to her unless there are any questions.
Yeah, we do actually have a couple questions, and so let's start. I'll just go ahead and read through them, although it looks like you're going to let the quick. Okay, first question. Is there a limit to the size of the data download in one request?
Yes, it's a post request, so there is a limit. There's also a computing limit on Earth Engine. So Earth Engine has a 5-minute timeout. So if it can't do it within 5 minutes, you will be getting an error message. So if you try to pull down the entire US for however long, the full length of Landsat, it will probably time out.
Okay, great. Next question. Instead of using upload of shapefile, can you specify a hosted WMS layer either in S3 ArcGIS Online or other hosted WMS server to compute zonal stats? Boy, that made no sense to me, but I bet it made sense to you.
No, not currently. Not currently. But that's a good suggestion.
Yeah, thanks, Christina, for that. All right, John Nielsen Gammon has a question. In the app, how do I turn off the background map?
So if you go to the top menu bar under map, there's a drop down, map options. You can change your base map. Right now, the default's hybrid, but you can change it to, I don't know, there's a half dozen or so options.
Yeah, but none of them are none.
None of them are none, so you want just white.
Yeah, so that the color is the pure color from the scale rather than something that's sort of tinted based on what's on the background.
Okay, so there's a transparency bar on the right. See that little transparency bar under the zoom in and out?
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect.
That transparency bar is super handy.
Yep, I've used it for my limited use, and it's just lovely. It's just a great way to highlight. Okay, we've got one more question from Keith. I requested a token back in August and was told they weren't onboarding new users at that time. Are you now?
Yeah. We need to kick the tires on this, and we would love to have feedback. Part of the issue is egress. So we've set up a Google Cloud bucket for you, this group right here, to write data to. Now, when you download data from that bucket, we get charged for egress, 12 cents a gig. So, but I'm willing to take that risk to help and to have you all kick the tires. But there is a cost with cloud, and you know, I'm not too worried about it, just as long as we don't start exporting and egressing terabytes.
Okay, you'll be able to monitor that, so you can also let us know.
Yeah, and the token for this group
going.
expires in 1 month.
Okay, Kristen.